What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. I figure I'd get this video to you before it happens because it's looking like Donald Trump is going to go ahead and bomb and attack Iran on behalf of Israel, because that's exactly what's happening. Donald Trump is the perfect president for Israel to manipulate, because he's always been compromised, and he's unhinged and not normal, and probably on the spectrum, and along with a whole bunch of other personality disorders. But he's the perfect individual with this neo-Nazi administration to support the other Nazis, which are the people pretending to be Jewish people in Israel, those Eastern Europeans pretending to be Jewish people, those white people, yarmulkes, that have been colonizing the Middle East or the Orient for the last 75, 85 years. They're about to attack Iran because they need to get Iran out the way and destabilize Iran in order to create greater Israel, right? And the reason why this is important for black people, right, is because greater Israel also consists of the Nile. That's right, the Nile. A portion of Egypt is part of this greater Egypt. I mean, greater Israel that these white people with yarmulkes want to steal, because their fantasy that they have created in their head, their made up religion, their made up people, and their made up story says that they're supposed to have that. It's just another case of white people doing what white people do. We got the white barbarian Anglo-Saxon 2.0 American that's trying to take over goddamn Greenland and destabilize and destroy South and Central America in order to shore up South and Central American resources for the Anglo-Saxon barbarian 2.0 American white supremacists. Then you got the Jewish, Germanic, Eastern European white supremacists pretending to be Semitic people, trying to shore up a little part of the entire Middle East and a small portion of Africa, which the fuck they're not going to be able to do. Don't care if them fake ass freaking Egyptians are there. Because there's still, our people are still there. So if they still there, that's our fucking business. Plus, it's Africa. All right, that's where they stop. And I don't understand why these these white folks with yarmulkes think that they can even populate greater Israel. I don't think that they're even thinking that far. There's not enough fake Semitic white Europeans with yarmulkes to fill up this place they want to call greater Israel. They can never build a military strong enough to defeat the surrounding countries. Their resources are too spread out. I don't understand. The population of these European barbarian savages are declining at a rapid cyclic rate. I don't know how they think they're going to expand. I don't know. Maybe they're going to use robots, and they probably will. At some point, they're going to have goddamn killer robots doing all the work for the 5 European barbarian savages with yarmulkes that's left. That's probably what's going to happen, to be honest. But without further ado, let me go ahead and educate you guys on what Donald Trump, the Fuhrer, is doing, because he's weak, and Israel obviously runs this administration along with various other politicians, because all these white Europeans are beholden to their rich white folks, brethrens with the yarmulkes, the Jews, and that's just what it is. So until we can get rid of AIPAC and overturn Citizens United so that the people can get back control of the government, or at least until they go extinct, which I don't want to wait that long. It's going to take too long for that. I mean, it's happening quick, but I don't want to wait that long. Iran doesn't have that much time. Oh, yeah, by the way, America did drum up the situation in Iran. It's the same. They use the same tactics. Divide. That means support the opposition party in Iran, right? Cause riots, cause a ruckus, and then justify interjecting based off trying to protect the Iranian people, like white barbarian savages, Neanderthals care about the Iranians. Like these white savages actually care about the Persians, because these are the Persians. These are not Arabs. Don't call Iranians Arabs. They are not Arabs. They are not to be confused with Arabs. These are the Persians. These are the guys that beat the shit out of goddamn the Spartans. All right, these are the guys that had the goddamn the immortal military. These are the guys who successfully subjugated the Europeans for thousands of years. That's who these guys are. These are the guys who took down Constantinople. These are the guys, all right? These are the guys who Europeans were they were paying them bribe, they were paying them royalties, they were paying them taxes. They were coming out their pockets for these Iranians. We call them Iranians now, but they used to be called Persians. Their territory used to be much bigger, right? But I just need you to understand, these are in fact those Persians that destroyed the Spartans. Even though the Spartans tried to make a movie like they was tough. No, they got their ass whooped because they was stupid. And they didn't have any tactics. All right? That's what happened. The Spartans got their ass whooped because there was a bunch of... the Spartans were a bunch of... They were gay. They were homosexual, backwards thinking idiots. And they got their ass whooped, thankfully. And the Greeks whooped their ass afterwards too. So yeah, that's who these people are. These white people cannot... If white people going down, they're going to take the Iranians down with them. And I'm talking about the globe-trotting, savage, imperialistic white people. Not the regular white folks who don't want none of this shit. All right? We should stop calling them white. Just save the word white for those people. All right? You should just... Europeans, disassociate yourself with the title white. Come up with some other shit. All right? Maybe call yourself your ethnic group. Your actual ethnic group, you know? Irish, Scottish, Polish, you know? If you're German, maybe you can say you're Swedish, you know? Like that. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, without further ado, check out this information and keep yourself informed. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Just isn't the same country anymore. And there's something incredibly dispiriting and sad and depressing about that. And people say, why am I popular? It's because it feels like I'm one of the only people that's fighting back against this. Ever since October 7th, I had predicted that Trump would be elected because he is the pro-Israel candidate. And he would be elected in part because he would take us to war with Iran in fulfillment of Israel's multi-year, multi-front, regional ambitions to create a greater Israel and neutralize all their enemies. And so when Israel bombed Iran and the United States followed up with airstrikes of its own, people ran to watch the show to see what I had to say about it because I was the only one that predicted it. So I didn't launch the generational run because I was being a shock jock, because I was trolling, because I played this shell game where I pretend to be mainstream and I go on Bradley Martin and I act one way and then I go on my show and act like a jerk. The generational run started because I was right, because I was speaking the truth about Jews and Israel, but also their relationship with Trump. And I was the only one who did it. I was the only one that stuck it out and said that, even in 2024, which is pretty late in the game for someone like me. Pretty late in the game, actually, for everybody. Just when everybody thought they had it all figured out about Israel, about Trump and the Republicans versus the Democrats, just when everybody thought they had it all figured out, I threw a big curveball and said, there's something that people are missing, which is that Trump is being allowed to walk through into the halls of power because they know that he will scuttle any diplomacy with Iran. That'll be their opportunity to carry out these strikes. And that's exactly what happened.
Today we're going to talk about the idea of Greater Israel. In recent years, the Israeli right has undergone a dramatic shift, growing more radical, more religious nationalist, and more open to this idea of a Greater Israel. We're not just talking about from the river to the sea, but from the Nile River to the Euphrates River. This is the biblical vision some extremists are now invoking in order to colonize large portions of the Middle East. Greater Israel encompasses all of Palestine, Greater Israel encompasses all of Lebanon, Greater Israel encompasses all of Jordan, Greater Israel encompasses most of Syria, Greater Israel encompasses most of Iraq, Greater Israel encompasses a portion of Egypt, Greater Israel encompasses a portion of Saudi Arabia, Greater Israel encompasses a portion of Kuwait, and Greater Israel encompasses a portion of Turkey. The vision of Greater Israel involves taking land from 9 different countries. And these aren't just fringe extremists who are saying this. These ideas have now entered the Israeli mainstream thanks in part to the resurgence of Kahanism. Rabbi Meir Kahane was banned from Israeli politics in the 1980s due to racist incitement. Kahane called for the expulsion of all Palestinians from the river to the sea, he called for a Jewish theocracy, but most of all, he pointed out the contradiction between having a Jewish majority state and having democracy where everyone has equal rights. And this ideology, of course, has only fueled the settler pogroms in the West Bank, has only fueled continued unchecked settlement expansion, and open calls to annex Palestinian land with absolutely no rights for the people living there. They can butcher a 20-year-old American citizen visiting his family in the West Bank for the summer, who grew up just 4 hours away from me in Tampa. They can light cars, homes, and mosques on fire while the Israeli army protects them and watches. They can be shot at, they can be imprisoned, they can be beaten randomly, they can be sexually assaulted, they can be verbally abused, they can be completely and utterly dehumanized.
Apparently, Donald J. Trump has said if Iran keeps using their military to unalive their citizens in Iran, that he is going to do something about it, intervene. Well, I want to tell the international community, if you see this, that here in this country, that same guy, Donald J. Trump, he's unaliving his own citizens. He's using his military to install fear, going door to door, kicking in people's doors. He himself is using his military to hurt and to unalive people here in the United States. Is there anybody here that sees this video in the world that could come rescue us? Please? Because Donald J. Trump is a dictator. He's out of control. And he's installing fear in the streets of America. Is anybody willing to come rescue us from him? Moderate out.
No, we're going to have Greater Israel, and we're just going to bash anybody that doesn't like it.
What is Greater Israel?
Greater Israel means either that Israel controls not only its geographic territory, but that it essentially controls or annexes the West Bank, the Golan Heights, which they've just enlarged, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. So everything that was captured in 1967, Netanyahu explicitly said, we're never giving that back. There are religious zealots, I would use even stronger terms, who use the book of Joshua, which is 2,700 years ago, that said, well, God gave us everything from the river in Egypt, meaning the Nile, to the Euphrates. And there are zealots in Israel, and they're in the government, who believe, yes, this is God's ordinance. We're going to take whatever we want.
I just want to remind people that when Trump does acts of war against Iran again, because yes, he is going to do this, his reason for doing this, for the safety and freedom of these protesters, is bullshit. Because this is the same president that sent the National Guard, his own military, on protesters across the country. He also sent ICE agents on them as well. That's very important to bring up, especially after what happened yesterday. So no, Trump does not care about protesters in Iran. He just wants to do a regime change so they can install a government that favors the United States.
So Netanyahu visits Trump, and 48 hours later, Trump is ready to start another war with Iran. He writes, if Iran shoots and violently kills peaceful protesters, which is their custom, we, the United States of America, will come to their rescue. We are locked and loaded and ready to go. How sick is it that Trump, who gives blind support to Israel as they massacre Palestinians every day and keep food and medicines and shelter from going into Gaza to protect people who are living in catastrophic conditions, pretends that he cares about human rights? And if he cares about the well-being of the people of Iran, he should lift the sanctions that have crippled their economy. And it's one of the reasons that people are protesting. If Trump cares about human rights, he would tell Netanyahu, stop killing Palestinians. Hands off Iran, free Palestine.
Right now, Trump is considering bombing Iran. And I want to make sure you know this, I mean this, was never about the Iranian people. The protests, they can be about what they are. This is never going to protect the Iranian people because most Iranians do not support American intervention. The IRGC is a fruit of American intervention. American intervention has always been counter-democratic, just as it was in 1953 in Iran, where we overthrew a democratically elected leader. And even international organizations supporting the protests going on in Iran right now do not support a single bomb being thrown against Iran. This is why I said that when you were discussing what's happening in Iran, you must center anti-interventionism. This is why I said that all of you were playing with fire when you discussed it without explicitly saying that America must not intervene, that America intervening would be counter-democratic, that America intervening would harm the Iranian people. And it is fair that millions of dollars of propaganda work, but Jesus Christ, is it devastating every time it does.
Why do they want Gaza in the first place? It seems a lot of trouble killing all these people, committing atrocities on camera. I mean, the press are barred, but we're still getting a lot of video out of the area. That's a big hit. Why would you be willing to go through all of that to get Gaza? Why do they want it?
The Zionists from the beginning have wanted a greater Israel. And David Ben-Gurion wrote a piece in 1918. And David Ben-Gurion, of course, is the founding father of Israel.
Yes.
Wrote a piece in 1918. I don't think it's ever been published in English. It's just in Yiddish, where he describes what his goals are for a greater Israel. And it obviously includes Green Line Israel, Gaza, the West Bank. It includes parts of the East Bank. It includes parts of southern Syria. It includes parts of southern Lebanon. And it includes the Sinai Peninsula. Just think about that. That was Ben-Gurion's vision. And this was a vision that was shared by almost all the early Zionist leaders. And there are still many people in Israel who are in favor of a greater Israel. They don't want a tiny Israel.
This is the Greater Israel Project. Okay, this is what Yahweh promised to Abraham in the Bible. As you can see, it's pretty huge. It's the entire Middle East. It extends from the Nile to the Euphrates in Iraq. Okay, it's a huge area. And if you say the Israelis want to achieve the Greater Israel Project, they call you a conspiracy theorist. So, like, we don't want that, okay? But explain two things to me. First of all, why is the Greater Israel map on a chevron of an IDF soldier, okay? These are soldiers, Israeli soldiers, and they wear the insignia of the Greater Israel Project, okay? This is the map. Also, if you look at the flag of Israel, there are two blue lines, right? These represent rivers, the Nile and the Euphrates. All right? So if it's a conspiracy theory, then how do you explain these two things? All right, but I want to argue to, you know what? Pax Judaica, it's not about Israel or the Greater Israel Project. What it is ultimately is an alliance of transnational capital, multinationals like Google and Meta, and intelligence agencies that will be based in Jerusalem, okay? So secret societies will be based in Jerusalem, and they will use it as a headquarters for their global conspiracy. But, and they will profit from chaos and conflict around the world because they think that this is the culmination of the prophecy. But it doesn't necessarily mean that Jews will be in charge. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Okay, so it's a much more complicated idea than people think it is. All right, so where do we get this stupid idea from, okay? It actually starts with Isaac Newton. So Isaac Newton, you learn about him in physics class, you learn that he's the founder of calculus, you learn about Newtonian mechanics, okay? But actually, these are just side projects of his. That was not his focus. He spent most of his life focusing on reading the Bible to understand the grand plan of God. And he wrote a book called Observations upon the Prophecy of Daniel and the Apocalypse of St. John, okay? That's where his focus was. And he believed he found the Bible code. And he was a member of secret societies. He was a member of the British elite. And if someone like Isaac Newton is telling you, like, this is what the Bible says, and this guy who found a calculus and who developed the 3 laws of motion, you'll probably believe him.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.